tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
I am going to try to explain to you the sound that Stugotz just made trying to clear the weekend from his throat.
Oof.
He came in and I said to him, "How are you doing?" And he belched at me, "I don't know." He has come in off an hour straight of God Bless Football. That's the best Stugotz you're going to get any week. Coming in, what, Billy?
The first hour. Right.
This week felt like he was kind of catching up on what happened.
I was.
Okay, well.
There were a number of, hey, did you hear this story? He's like, no, what happened? I'm like, okay.
Yeah, okay. So God Bless Football. Again, Stugotz clinically underprepared. He will do his best, and Billy will try to navigate the ship. You can get that. That's out now. That's the best you get from Stugotz during the week.
Well, thank you.
I need to talk to Lucy for a second. She is outside. I'll get to her in just a second because she continues to weep at sporting events. She went to Oklahoma State. She went to Bedlam.
Yep. Oklahoma State. Bedlam. Yep.
Yes.
Final edition. You got it.
Yes.
Put the kids to Bedlam.
Yeah.
Yes. And so I want to get to that in a second. And I want to get to the University of Miami and the Dolphins. But first, Jessica came in today, and I don't know that this is the attitude that we want around here on a Monday morning. She seems to be done with love. She's been broken by the wedding circuit. She doesn't want to.
I thought you meant Jordan Love.
She doesn't. She doesn't. You proud of that one?
I am.
He had a bounce back week.
He did.
Is he good?
I don't know.
No, he is not.
You're done with love, huh?
But not as done as Jessica is. You're broken.
It's been a long wedding season, Dan, and it finally ended yesterday. And there's been a long debate about fall weddings. I'm anti-fall wedding. People that I really respect are pro-fall wedding. People that cover college football, which is shocking to me. But I spent my weekend in Boston celebrating a lovely couple. Very happy for them. It was a wonderful time with wonderful people. But coming into work this morning, having watched like 5 minutes of every college football and NFL game the last 2 days, not to mention Formula One, which happened this weekend too. Whew. I think we should just have a universal day of weddings from now on.
Wow.
Really?
Everyone get married on, maybe we'll designate like 2 weekends a year, and those are the 2 wedding weekends. You pick which one. We all do it at the same time.
Summer, though,
you
right?
You pick which one you want to go to. Yeah, maybe like June.
Right.
And then that's it. Because I've been flying all over the country, going to weddings this entire year, and I am ready to throw in the towel. I can't do it anymore.
Well, you're getting battered, and it seems like it's ruining your ability to enjoy college football.
It was the Smetty Bowl this weekend. It was Clemson and Notre Dame. I had friends on both sides of the stadium watching this game. I wanted to be there. I wanted to tailgate. I wanted to see Notre Dame and Clemson play in person. The last time I went to Clemson for the Notre Dame-Clemson game was in 2015 during a hurricane. I nearly died of exposure to the elements. It was so rainy that it was freezing, even though it wasn't even cold out. Riddle me that. I found out that that was a thing at that game. My lips were blue, and it was like 60 degrees. And I wanted to go back, and I couldn't do it. And I'm very sad about it.
You've been done with weddings for a while, but you've never been this broken, where this one broke you. I don't know what happened. Like, you've come in a number of times where you're like, okay, enough with my friends love each other. I get
Dan,
it.
it was hearing Sweet Caroline for the 5th time this year. That's what did it. Sweet Caroline came on, and I said, I'm done. Never again.
It will break you.
You're done,
No more.
done.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Upset.
Really?
Give him some early reps.
Lucy, I want to, again,
Build his confidence.
we will get to Dolphins and Chiefs. Taylor just came in here giddy. He just came in here, giant smile on his face, and spit at me. The Dolphins haven't won a game against a winning team since week 3 of 2022, and then he fled the room. Like, he just ran in.
I love that.
He threw it at me. Like, he came in with a flamethrower and then ran out of the room. But I want to get to Lucy's weekend because it was more joyous than Jessica's. Jessica's went to go see her friends be in love, and it broke her. Lucy went to just another college football game this weekend. There were many of them. She went to one of them. I don't know. Is this a top 5 game this weekend, Stugotz?
Certainly, it was a top 5 game. Yes.
Okay.
It's Bedlam, final edition. I mean, who else played?
Iowa Northwestern.
Oh, I went to that one.
We've got video of Stugotz from that one. And Boog Shambi called me concerned and said, I don't understand. Is Stugotz okay? It seemed the one video I saw that he looked like he was trying to summon the Stugotz character and couldn't quite get there.
Reporting live from Wrigley, it is Stugotz from Meadowlark Media at the Iowa Northwestern game. Wrigley Field, how about that? The friendly confines, huh? Hey, windy city. Not so windy today. Actually pretty nice. We are here at the Iowa Northwestern game. I am here against my will. I am here because my daughter and her lacrosse team is being honored at halftime of this game. And then I'm leaving. How about that? The second after they're honored, I'm gone. By the way, you'll notice the scoreboard behind me. It says 0-0. That's because the game hasn't started. I expect the scoreboard to still be reading 0-0 when I leave at halftime. How about that? Anyway, set the scene for you. Iowa, Northwestern, Wrigley Field, Windy City, the friendly confines. Stugotz reporting from Meadowlark Media.
Did you get the exact score right of the halftime prediction? Is that?
I don't know, but that's a write-off. I mean, how about that?
I was wondering about why you were doing those videos too.
Well, now you know. I mean.
Lucy, didn't Stugotz wasn't he going to connect with your family?
Yeah, that didn't happen.
No,
my
didn't
dad,
happen.
I told my dad ahead of time. I was like, "Hey, I'll link you up with Stugotz. You guys, you can try to meet. It probably won't happen." And my dad was like, "I'm not expecting it to." So he texted me at Bedlam, or while I was at Bedlam, and was like, "Hey, a lot of people keep leaving. The seats around us are open. We have Fireball. Here's a picture of our tickets. Send it to Stugotz and see if he wants to come sit with us." I sent it to Stugotz immediately. He's like, "I'm leaving. I'm not going to be here."
I mean, your dad wanted me to get closer to the action or
That's
lack of
fair.
action. Yes.
And then I also had a couple of friends from college who were sitting behind Stugotz, and they were texting me the whole time, being like, "We're sitting right behind Stu. We're sitting right behind Stu. Just go say hi. Just go say hi. Go say hello." And they were like, "No, we're not going to do that." And they were texting me the whole time. I was annoyed.
Now, I look back to try to find Lucy's friends, Dan, but everyone looked the same. I mean, so it was hard to pick out.
Everybody in the entire crowd of the game where you were there celebrating your daughter's achievement. You took a victory tour this weekend. You had no time. You were too busy being dad to caretake to God bless football and everything that happened in sports because you were busy loving your daughter and putting your priorities first.
Yeah, she won. They won a national championship last spring, and over the weekend they had their ring ceremony, and so they were honored at halftime of the Iowa Northwestern game, which was the most exciting part of the game, them being honored at halftime. And it was a great weekend. It was a really fun weekend to see your daughter that happy with that big fat ring around her finger. Was really fun. And to know that she has one more ring than Chris Paul, Charles Barkley, and Kevin Durant combined. I mean, it's amazing.
He wanted to send that out from the ceremony, and Abby said, "Can it be about your daughter for once?"
Yes, she did. She did. She pulled the plug.
He wanted to go to one more Chris Paul joke. Just stab him from the shadows on the weekend.
Had it all teed up.
Because he hasn't won a championship.
This was the half of football Stugotz got to watch. Punt, punt. Missed field goal, punt. Interception, punt. Punt, 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 punt. End of half.
I'm telling you guys, I had a lot of money on the under, and I still feel like I lost.
I mean, it was like 30, and it was somehow 10-7, way under. But, Lucy, I do need to understand, before we get to the Dolphins and before we get to the University of Miami, and Billy's world has been rocked. The Marlins are changing. Stuff to get to there. I don't understand why the energy of these college football towns is moving you so much that you land on the field, feel that energy, and it keeps legitimately moving you to tears. I miss that young man inside me who loved sports like that.
Okay. That I cry at most of the games because, one, I am an emotional person. I cry a lot.
it's very cool to be there, and that's part of the reason I'm crying. Like, wow, I'm so grateful. This is so amazing. But Bedlam specifically, that was probably the most emotional I have ever felt, because you could just feel it, that everyone there cared so much, and this was so important to them. When we did our interviews before the game, we actually had a really tough time finding like super drunk people, because no one was drinking that much because they wanted to be present for the game. It was just like this insane atmosphere and energy where everyone, it was so important to them. And it was just so special, and it made me cry, and I couldn't stop the whole third quarter.
Ridiculous.
I just kept
It's ridiculous.
crying and crying. And they were so happy, and there were so many little Mike Gundys in the crowd. And it was
So many Mike Gundys.
It was so special. And Stillwater is an awesome little college town that is a great stadium. If you're a college football fan, you should put it on your bucket list. It was amazing, and I'm about to cry again. It was so special.
It is unusual. Mike Ryan was also going to cry this weekend, and Stugotz, I hate to say this because I don't like criticizing the college kids,
right?
And now they've changed the money around so they're professionals,
Mm-hmm.
but the problem with the University of Miami is their quarterback, and he is lost on confidence, and they're clearly trying to protect and hide him. And his confidence,
you can't hide that player.
His confidence is shattered, and he has regressed in ways. He's got a ton of time, and he keeps making bad decisions. And Stugotz, I hardly ever do this one, reading body language to see if someone's scared. But the checkdowns and the feeling shadows in the pocket and going down when people aren't near you and you have time, that was not a confident person that the University of Miami had at quarterback. They have broken that quarterback. And his last two games, Pro Football Focus say, are the worst of his career. And it's not because he doesn't have time, although NC State did apply more pressure than most. And if I'm looking at that game, I can also say, hey, you're down 10-6. NC State's offense stinks. You cannot allow them to go 97 yards down the field and score on a long play where they don't even have to kick the field goal because your defense breaks down against that offense. A truly terrible, worst in a conference that should be sent out to sea offense.
You're right to mention that NC State, especially in that first half, brought more pressure than we anticipated, and Tyler was still bad against that. But at halftime, NC State realized, wait, we've got a season's worth of film on Tyler Van Dyke struggling against his own defense. Send three, drop everybody else back, force him to make throws, and he either won't, or he'll check it down, or we'll get coverage sacks with a three-man rush because he'll hold on to the ball too long, or if he finally does work up the courage to try to float one over the zone, it'll get picked off. And it did. Miami's got a quarterback problem. To me, it's as clear as saying, like, oh, Rick Ankiel can't reach the plate anymore. For whatever reason, guy hasn't been able to break down a defense that's dropping all their guys back. So
Stugotz, I hate that.
Big issue.
I hate that as analysis, but I can't.
What, he lost his confidence?
No, but I can't dispute it. Like
Right.
the quarterback I watched play on Saturday night after seeing this guy be a gunslinger, man, this team would be good if they had De'Ara King. This team, if I just put De'Ara King as their quarterback, this team would be good because the offensive line is good. And the problem is that defenses has figured out, like, okay, Van Dyke, go ahead. We bet you can't do it against we bet you're going to see shadows in your backfield, even though they're rushing three, because now your decision making, you're feeling the time in your head. You can tell you have time. You still haven't found anybody, and it's not because the receivers are that bad, though they're not that good either.
They're not that good. They were trying to upgrade them all season, and they didn't in the offseason. But the defensive unit, 22 points, that'll win you a college football game easily these days. Your offense has to put up 30 in the modern age, and it looked like Miami finally had that offense in earlier parts of the season. But the more film that Tyler has put out there, the more defenses realize, as we mentioned, headed into the game, it was pretty apparent against Georgia Tech. It was apparent against Virginia in their win where they won in spite of their quarterback. He can't read a defense that drops everybody back. It's a huge issue. I think the coaching staff gave Tyler every opportunity to dig himself out of it. They got a pretty big game this weekend, a big one for recruits, and I don't know if Tyler's going to ever throw another pass for the University of Miami ever again. I think right now a change of scenery would benefit both parties.
Mike, in part, isn't that on the coaching staff? what he's going through right now?
You could see how they were handling Tyler in a sensitive way.
They were trying to hide him Saturday. Like that was a remedial offense. That's not how people in the sport are playing offense anymore.
I don't have access to the film to see who was open downfield. I just saw a quarterback that, for whatever reason, was terrified to even take a shot downfield. I don't know how much separation there was. There were a couple replays that were pretty damning for Tyler Van Dyke.
How did this happen? I feel like last year we were saying he was going to be a first-round quarterback.
Earlier this year.
I think headed into last year, everybody was pointing to what is very clearly an outlier of the Rhett Lashley days. You had a hot quarterback that no one had film on, and you now have a large enough sample when you include the Middle Tennessee State game in there. The quarterback is just limited, and it's not a fit right now. Miami found ways around it, but defenses got clever and figured out how to play Tyler, and I think that they need to make a quarterback change right now because the one thing that is killing this team is the offense. Look, they had a running back that averaged 5 yards per carry there. They have one of the best they have a championship-level offensive line. They have a championship-level defense. The skill positions on the outside need to improve, and the quarterback needs to improve. The good news is Miami is very clearly better than last year, and you know where the problems are of concern, and you can fix that in today's day and age pretty quickly in the transfer portal.
Stugotz, I want to get to the Dolphin stuff because it is funny that they're being regarded now nationally as a fraud. I started getting texts all of a sudden yesterday. Chris Long emerged. Chris Long,
really?
who has bet this show that he will get a Tua tattoo if they ever win the Super Bowl.
A tattoo?
He believes that all of the Dolphin things are fraudulent. Now they are 6-0 against terrible teams, which, by the way, is an achievement in that league. It is. I think it's stupid what we're doing. Can't beat good teams when what I watched yesterday is one of the worst games of Mahomes' career. Kelce was held 3 catches, 14 yards. One play decided it, a freak play where there's a lateral and a touchdown is scored. And then the Dolphins lose. And they're 6-3, and they've been injured all season, and people will question whether they can beat good teams because when they've played 3 of them, and the Bills are a good team now, right? Yes?
Don't know.
Yes? No? They are one of 10 teams that can win the Super Bowl. If you count the Bills, that's 2/3 of the league.
Bills are not winning the Super Bowl.
I know.
I will stake my reputation on that, which means nothing, but the Bills are not winning the Super Bowl this year.
Whoa. You are a internationally recognized NFL
You are the
reporter,
Duke,
Billy
yeah.
Did you just stake your reputation?
Yep.
Go ahead. Put your reputation
Bona
out
fide.
there.
Bills will not win the Super Bowl this year.
Okay.
I'm on record, which is very dangerous. I shouldn't say that.
Well, Billy, how do you
Are you
feel?
going to get a tattoo?
No.
How do you feel about your Dolphins today being questioned
I like it.
nationally as a second-tier team, which I'll take it, frankly. You're totally cool with that.
That's an upgrade of a couple tiers from
Let's
not.
Okay.
Hey, tier 2 ain't so bad.
All right, that's fine. Second-tier team, maybe they get healthy at the right time. Maybe San Francisco will be down to its 4th quarterback.
Tier 2, that might be a home playoff game.
I don't like the pressure of being a favorite, so I love this. I love the idea that people say that they're frauds and they're not good at anything. I love it. I'm very comfortable here. Being a front runner is not for me at all. Not at all. I'm worried about the Chiefs, if I could be perfectly honest with you. And no one wants to hear that today because it sounds like I'm making excuses, but that was a bad game. That was not a good game.
It's one
yesterday.
of the worst Mahomes has ever played.
Well, I mean, last week was worse than this week.
These are the last the
last 2 games.
Out of 103 games, the last 2 are about as bad as Mahomes can ever play.
Did anyone else find this curious? So obviously Taylor Swift didn't go to the game, right? Brittany Mahomes stayed in New York to go out with Taylor and her friends on Saturday night and also didn't go to Germany. What's happening there?
Well, it was in Frankfurt. If the game's in like Berlin or Munich, I think they all go.
Is Frankfurt boring?
I've heard that it's not like the place to visit if you go to Germany. But it's a good international like airport hub for getting around Europe.
By the way, I also heard that the attendance was like 40,000. Get the hell out of here with telling us that it's a sellout. 40,000, please. Rutgers can do that.
That is true. Temple cannot. I saw one of their games. I saw ESPN trying to hide
Miami can't.
all the crowd shots.
Sorry.
Miami averages 55,000 a game. They're playing a very
That
good
is
team.
not
Stop
true.
it, Mike. Come on.
Mike, come on.
55,000
Michael,
what?
come on, Mike.
You know that's not
55,000. Mike,
I know
no.
that's the talking point, but
no,
come on.
I
get out of
David
here.
Sampson doing
There
that?
It sounds silly.
Their stadium looks like about 25,000 short of filling capacity every game. Yes, math is hard.
Okay. I don't want to do attendance talk.
I do.
She started it.
If the
I
Eagles,
actually didn't start it. this time.
55,000.
By the way, sorry
I
about
did that, yeah.
Sorry about your team's loss, but also congrats on your team's win.
What's happening here? We're talking about the Dolphins.
Classic win-win.
Why are we
Steelers
attacking
won,
each
though.
other?
if the Eagles and Chiefs are in the Super Bowl again, I will accuse the league of scripted television.
I don't think it's going to be the Eagles and the Chiefs. I'll stake my reputation on that.
Okay.
So
All right.
no Bills,
let's-
no
all
Eagles,
right,
no
let's,
Chiefs.
Let's take some
Well, not no Eagles and no Chiefs. Not
Okay.
the Eagles and the Chiefs
Okay, not
together.
both,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
You don't think those two teams will be in the Super
The thing
Bowl?
is, Dan, if I'm going to be honest with you, I have to angle to move up in the rankings. I was 6 and I was 5. What do I do to get up to 4? You know what I mean? So I have to say things.
Okay,
I'm very good at not saying things. Now I have to say things.
All right, well, one of the things you can say is that you are willing to stake your reputation on the idea that Amazon, in a partnership with the Kelces to make documentaries in the next legion of brotherly stars who sell soup, has teamed with Taylor Swift to concoct a Super Bowl where the Eagles and Chiefs get all of the calls.
If both teams are getting the calls, then neither team is getting the call. So what happens there?
When they meet in the Super Bowl, the Kelces can make another documentary that births a $15 million a year oil well in another podcast empire.
You think the reason that she turned down performing at the Super Bowl was just to sort of throw us off the scent from all of this happening, Dan?
What happened with Taylor Swift this weekend? Was the game less interesting because
It was in Germany. She didn't want to go to Germany. She's about to go on a world tour. It's an inconvenience to go all the way across the world for a football game.
You know who was there? Juju and Chris Cody, and I could not believe the footage that this is
Great.
This is the tax write-off that is worth the Meadowlark expense, unlike Stugotz's report from Wrigley Field.
What do you mean?
Here's Juju Gotti,
Set the scene.
stunningly for some reason, dapping up the commissioner who thought Juju Gotti was somebody that was of great import.
Me and Raj know what's going on, man. I've been knew Raj. Me and Raj went to school together. You feel me?
I don't.
So they were friends from school.
Yeah, they went to school together.
Yes.
It's the greatest piece of video content this company has ever created. And I said earlier, we'll ever create, and we should just shut down right now. I don't know that we're going to top that.
I like that idea.
It's so good.
My favorite
Shutting
video of the
down?
weekend was just the line of German folks that were taking photos of Juju Gotti because he's got that thing about him where he's got a star quality. Everyone thinks he's somebody, and Juju is somebody who leans into it.
Leans into what? The casual racism of it?
Bit of a casual racism aspect to it, but it's funny.
Yes, embrace it. And embrace the racism of, yes, you must be someone I know and hug, and I would have paid a lot of money to hear what Goodell whispered out of the side of his mouth as soon as he left, wondering who that was. Stugotz just muttering under his breath. about the bleeping Kelce.
I'm tired of him.
Because Abby, his wife, is listening. She hasn't listened to this in 20 years. She's listening to the Kelce podcast and coming up to Stugotz and saying, "Oh, you wouldn't believe they did top 5 Halloween candies." And Stugotz is saying, "I was doing that 15 years ago."
I'm so tired of it. I mean, she watches Eagles games. She's hooked to Chiefs games. She did that to me. Jason gave his top 10 Halloween candies of all time. I said, I've done that for 20 consecutive years.
It's your bit.
Enough of that.
The Halloween.
It's everyone's bits. I mean,
candy.
I stole it from Golick.
I have a question for everyone, but Stugotz specifically. When you're having a conversation with someone outside of work and sports come up, do you do like your whole Stugotz shtick with them, or are you just like, yeah, whatever? Like, I don't want to talk about sports. This is my job.
Whatever. Lately, yeah.
Yeah, I had a conversation this weekend where someone's like, "Is anyone in the NFL even good this year?" And I was like, let me put on my podcaster hat and answer that.
Not now.
One of the things I did love about yesterday, so you get the 9:30 game, you kind of know both those teams are good. They somehow both underachieve for you, and one of them goes to 7-2, the other goes to 6-3. The Chiefs are really good at defense now. Mahomes has not had that kind of defense before, and he hasn't had to carry them, and they're still very good, obviously.
Defenses are better. Overall, scoring is down in the league, and I think people are conflating, well, there are no good teams because you don't have teams just having these unstoppable offenses like we're used to seeing. Several years of film and brilliant minds who are professionals at stopping offenses are starting to come online and figure out this new age.
The thing that I was really interested in yesterday, and it's the magic of that league, Stugotz, because what I'm about to say is kind of amazing because they ratchet up the stakes and people get more and more interested halfway through a season where there are a lot of broken teams, a lot of broken players, a lot of broken quarterbacks. Scott Hansen was screaming during the witching hour because of the excitement of Josh Dobbs and Baker Mayfield and C.J. Stroud and Heineke. So a couple of backup quarterbacks. C.J. Stroud made 6 throws in that game where you're just like, oh, immediately, star.
Yep.
He's going to be a star for 10 years. If you didn't know it, watching him play the best game I've seen a college player other than Vince Young play in college when he was at Ohio State. This kid is going to be good, obviously, for 10 years because he's super calm and he's playing the position with a proficiency that's crazy.
He has 14 touchdowns and 1 interception.
He's learned the position, and you trust him to make incredible throws. He made 6 of them and then wins the game at the end. But Hansen is screaming, and it's just a bunch of teams trying to get to 4-4. And it's Josh Dobbs, the third quarterback of the Vikings, because KJ Osborne has been broken in half. Red Zone Channel has to leave, saying we're not going to show that replay. And whoever was the quarterback before Dobbs, Hall?
Yep.
Jaron Hall breaks at the goal line physically, like his left spasming on the field, unconscious. They take him off, and he's done. And then Dobbs brings back a team.
Don't forget Cam Akers torn Achilles in there, too.
Mm-hmm.
Dobbs doesn't know the names of his teammates. He's making up the plays in the huddle, and it's the most Falcons thing ever to lose to that.
It was the perfect combination of quarterbacks for that witching hour. And I know that you said it feels ridiculous because it's a bunch of teams trying to level up at 4-4 this season, but that witching hour, I think, will resonate and maybe remembered for a while because there was more to it than just teams trying to get 4-4. I think C.J. Stroud became a superstar within that witching hour window.
It was a really amazing watching what Josh Dobbs was able to do after getting traded, not getting any practice reps with the starters for the Vikings. All these videos coming out of him, like, learning the snap cadence on the sideline before the game, practicing taking snaps for the first time right before he went in. He didn't know any of the plays. He was asking the players in the huddle, apparently, like, what do I have over here? Jordan Addison said after the game. It was just like totally remarkable for someone who's been on so many NFL teams just in the last 2 years alone, been a practice player for a while, been a backup for a while. And then you think on the other side, what must Falcons fans feel today losing to that?
It might not even be top 5 worst things with the Falcons. They've got such a long list of them. But Stugotz, what she's saying is so Dobbs has played for 5 teams since week 15 of last year. Since week 15, and I think I told Mike this last week, I think he's got more 20-plus yard runs than any quarterback in the sport.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
He had two of the greatest scrambles you'll ever see in your life yesterday. He did do that.
He's got that special quality about him that if you're betting on a Josh Dobbs team,
yes,
you're happy with where you're at. Like there's a back door that's wide open for Josh Dobbs that he's going to walk right on through.
Regardless.
He's right about that, Dan, because I bet that game. I had the Falcons thinking I was betting against Jalen Hall, whatever his name is, and then all of a sudden I'm betting against Josh Dobbs, and no one wants to bet against Josh Dobbs. Nobody.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju, when you get back from dapping up the commissioner at Le Batard Show. Does anyone want to – what's the bet? Does anyone want to bet – does anyone dare to bet against Josh Dobbs?
Don't do it.
He was like an aerospace engineering major at Tennessee. Like, he's very smart. Like, he could be working for NASA right now. And instead, he's, like, kept playing in the NFL. And now I'm just happy for him. He got a bit of a payoff yesterday coming in after being traded and winning. I know he won a game with the Cardinals earlier this season as a starter, but I was very happy to see him get some credit for putting together what must have been impossible circumstances as a quarterback.
The Cardinals miss him terribly, Stugotz. This is obviously happening in the league where you've got the Cardinals had 50 yards yesterday. Totally incompetent. The Browns have what is obviously a championship defense. They got a lot of guaranteed money in a quarter. It was 50 yards.
I know.
Isn't it hilarious that Deshaun Watson's shoulder only feels good against the Titans and Cardinals? It's like, who are we playing?
So they get
cool.
They're close.
Good.
They're
Shoulder's
close.
good,
They're
coach.
close to being in the second tier. They're so close. If they'd won at Seattle, they'd be in the second tier. But then Baltimore knocks down Detroit and Seattle, where they're like, you're okay, but just steamrolls them. And Lamar Jackson, who was going to be traded last offseason, is the MVP of the league again and is playing more amazing than he ever has. And they lost to the Colts. When people say Dolphins beat a good team, they didn't. The Dolphins didn't lose to whatever the equivalent of the Colts is. They haven't yet. The Dolphins could be 4-5. They could be. Like that, they're
not. They're 6-3, and everyone's getting on them today, and I don't care because I'm telling you right now, look at that schedule. Yes. The Dolphins will be 11-3.
Yes, or something like that. They
something
might
close
lose to
that.
the Jets,
yes.
Whatever, but they're not going to be any good teams coming up either. So this conversation will continue.
Where would the 4-5 be if they would have lost to the Chargers and the Patriots?
Yeah, like whatever. If they'd lost to the Chargers and if the Patriots, you remember that last play where you're going a yard one way or the other, Belichick goes for two, whatever. I'm just saying a couple of things happen in one of these stupid games.
Because they have a lot of blowouts, too. Like, it's not like all their wins are one score.
If Denver scored 71.
There you go.
Right.
That's what it was.
I don't doubt that the Dolphins are good. That it's an achievement to get to 6-3 when you've been this injured. But Stugotz, I do think this part is fair. When this magnificent offense, greatest show on surf, when it has played against the Bills, it scored 20. When it played against the Eagles, it scored 10 because the Dolphins had a defensive touchdown. And in this game, 2 touchdowns. And I believe that's fair criticism. Like, okay, when they run up against a couple of things here, they might lose a game because the offense does stall because Tyreek Hill tells you before the game, I'm going to go off for 12 catches and 250 yards. And no, they're pressing him at the line because the Chiefs are better at defense than you are. Like they're better. The Chiefs have a better defense than your defense in its present state, a little bit injured.
2 high safeties, double team Tyreek the entire time, jam him at the line. And Tyreek was pretty smart. There was that one time that he goes in motion to find out if he's double covered. And on that reverse, he signals to Waddle, I've got 2 on me. I'm going to take 2 defenders with me. And Waddle, who was battling an injury that entire game, has a nice big gain because Tyreek Hill has some experience being used as a decoy.
I found all of that interesting, Stugotz, and then the game gets decided by a smart play down the sideline that you never see in that reckless sport, which is somebody just flipping it to somebody else. For a lateral that goes and gives.
With all that said, though, Dan, the Dolphins still had plenty of chances to win that game in the second half.
No criticism for how they handled that final drive because it was pretty poor.
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Tua looks rattled because he takes his eye off the snap.
Well, he wasn't even lined up. It didn't look from the camera angles like he was even lined up behind the center.
He looked a little rattled in the moment. 45,000 strong.
You guys are going to do that, though? We're going to make...
I mean, there's not a lot of criticisms that you can have for this Miami Dolphins team right now, and it's a very valid one when you look at their schedule. Their losses are to good teams, and if they consider themselves better than those other teams, you have to be concerned because all you have are the results.
Right where you want to be. This is the time to lose those games.
Yep.
Better to lose them now than the playoffs. That's what I always say.
Got to get hot at the right time.
You listening, The Guardian?
Billy, how are you feeling in another sport that is also your specialty, but you don't have the award-winning acclaim that you do with God Bless Football and the international infamy of being the Duke? The Marlins, upheaval and change means
Upheaval?
Means what to you?
That's a way to lead the witness here. Upheaval. The Marlins had a weekend. They had a couple things happen. So Josh Bell opted in, which was, I think, to some, a surprise opt-in. He's going to be making, I think, $16.5 million, which I saw somewhere, and I didn't double-check, so I'm just going to run with it and hope they were right. I believe that's the highest that a hitter is going to be paid in a season by the team, because Giancarlo Stanton, I guess it was very backloaded, so he never made that much. So that's a surprise, because we thought that he was going to test the free agency market. I'm assuming that him and his agent looked and saw what was out there for first basemen, DHs, or whatever, and said, you know what, let's get this.
He likes it here. He seemed like he was happy.
Him
here.
and Berger seemed to really bond.
They
which
really
is,
did.
Yeah, interesting. And let's see if maybe that played a role in it. But he's going to kind of, roll the dice with the Marlins one more year. Then the Marlins also hired a president of baseball operations, Peter Bendix, which I'm going to be perfectly honest with you, had no idea who he was. He was in the Rays system for 15 years.
That's all you had to say.
No, I don't.
Rays
got excited
intern.
right there.
He was a Rays intern, and now he's a Rays muckety-muck, and they got the Rays guy.
Yeah.
Do the Rays things. Do the magical Rays things.
Billy, it seems like they chose the Rays guy long before, and that played into
Kim
not coming back.
They wanted the Rays guy. He's been there for 15 seasons, started as an intern in 2009, went to Tufts, I believe. I don't know what that means, but it sounds nerdy as shit, so hopefully this is the right guy.
Yeah, all of this fits the photos that I've seen.
Yeah. So I don't know anything about him, but he was there for a long time, and hopefully he brings that winning strategy down here. Because here's the thing with his position is it's not just like construct a winning team. They're trying to recreate the whole Rays organization, and this guy has done everything there. So hopefully this is the guy that brings that in, and then they have executives that can work their way up. And if he leaves to get a higher paying job, as people have done with the Rays, they kind of elevate people. This is almost, and I don't want to do it because I know how much you guys are going to love this. This almost feels like he's bringing Rays culture down here. This Heat culture everybody talks about. Eric Spoelstra started in the video room, all that. It seems like they went and they paid that guy to come and try to rebuild that here. So it's going to be a little bit of time. See if that works out, but, we'll see.
He also claims to be great at ping pong, so there's that.
Again, all of this tracks with the images that I've seen.
We'll see is not great, though, as a rallying cry of hope.
Talk to me in 10 years, and I'll let you know.
Not any better. You know when we'll see? Talk to me in 10 years. These are not rallying cries. Stugotz, we have a problem in here, okay? And it's been a problem for a long time. Okay. Mike, you may have noticed that Mike, more and more, every single day, comes in here dressed more and more like an athletic trainer.
Impartial.
Or like a University of Miami superhero of some sort.
Yeah.
Just
weird.
Just draping himself head to toe in thick University of Miami garb.
Do they give you that stuff for free? Like, I feel like you donate enough that you should get free stuff.
I do get a lot of free stuff.
Okay, good.
Well, it's not free stuff, I guess, technically.
Right.
It's in return for my very generous donations.
Right.
But
your wardrobe by your boosterism? You're getting
outfitted.
Outfitted.
Outfitted by our wonderful partners over at Adidas.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you weren't too keen on that when that first happened.
I'm still not keen on it.
Okay.
You're not on the
Whoa,
team.
Careful, you're on the record.
No, I would like to be a Nike school again, but a lot of college basketball blue bloods are repped by Nike, and a lot are repped by Adidas. And either way, it doesn't take away from the fact that we are college basketball blue bloods here, and the season is starting.
Can you stop for just a second? Because, yes, Stugotz.
I was going to say, in fairness to Mike today, he is wearing something that no one else would wear after that game. I mean, he is. He's proud.
Sorry, I don't know what you're referring to. The season starts today against the vaunted New Jersey Institute of Technology. And come Friday, there's going to be a banner that says Final Four on it that's going to be raised at the Watsco. So,
NIT, big game.
Mike Ryan has poured his resources and his boosterism into the University of Miami women's program, and that season begins now. That season, Stugotz, is a giant. I think a lot of people pointed out the ratings of last year. Women's basketball at the end of the year was doing a bigger number than Game 1 of the World Series, which wasn't just the World Series. It was a great all-time World Series game, and still women's basketball did bigger numbers and opens now this season.
It does. The ladies take the court on Thursday. The men begin their season today at the Watsco. Like I said, a banner that'll say Final Four on it is going to be raised, which for this program, a blue blood program, is the bar.
I think the camera does not do Mike's outfit justice. I think he needs to do like a little twirl.
Yes, please,
because
Mike.
he has the
Yes.
shoes on too.
Yes,
Fit
well,
check,
He has
yeah, fit
branded
check.
Mike, please go to Mike. No,
Outfitted by
please go to a place, Mike, where we could drink all of you in, because what's happened here is you look like somebody, an athletic trainer, running on the field to tend to an athlete's knee. But when in your boosterism you pour funds and
time.
support and time
Yes.
into the program,
Support.
and you
I
call
love these kids.
and you call yourself a blue blood. Lucy's
I am a college basketball
Lucy
blue blood.
is making a
You
face
are, huh?
every
Yeah.
single time you do
are
that.
a college
I am.
basketball blue blood.
I am.
You
But
personally.
yeah, Miami's
just
not.
you.
Yes.
But you
Got it.
Right.
Coach K, Naismith, one of the Williamses, maybe a dean in there, Mike Ryan.
Got it. John Wooden. I mean,
Lucy,
Doesn't make the cut.
Lucy,
really?
speak
Do a
up.
spin.
Lucy, you got to speak up. You're making faces at him the entire time, and I believe his boosterism is out of control, and I think you need to speak freely just because
Sorry, if you have a head coach that's
Tread
made it to
lightly.
2 Final Fours, I think, and a head coach is still around, that also just feeds a blue blood argument, doesn't it?
Sometimes I feel like you just can't argue with crazy. You gotta let him just do what he wants to do.
Careful.
dangerous game, Lucy.
This program had a team in the Elite Eight and in the Final Four simultaneously.
Right.
Can you name other schools
Doing
that can
that
do
one
that?
year
don't
doesn't
know.
make you a blue blood. That means you
FAU
had a
made it to the
great
Final
year.
Four.
Excuse me, went to the Elite Eight last year in men's. We're talking about a sustainable track record here.
They were going 2 years.
Cut me open.
That means Notre Dame's a
bleed
blue
blue.
blood too.
Hey, look at us.
What?
Just a couple of
Men's-
blue
I mean, the
bloods.
women's team obviously is. I like this though because I'm with Mike today. Like this weekend was terrible for Notre Dame, great for Clemson, terrible for Miami. But the upside is now that the meaningful college football has ended for programs earlier than you'd hope. The basketball season arrives, and you get to say, well, we're a women's basketball school anyways. Notre Dame's playing today in Paris against South Carolina. Very exciting
What a
matchup,
matchup.
between Niele Ivey and Dawn Staley in Paris.
In Paris.
I would be there if it weren't for this wedding. But now Mike gets to turn his attention back to basketball and claim that this was it all along for Miami.
My
this is
support-
what they need to be successful.
My support goes program wide. And yes, while there are some embarrassing setbacks with the University of Miami football program, I'm positive we are on the right track, and it is FSU week, and I'm not punting on this season just yet. But today is a day for excitement as one of the nation's proudest blue bloods returns to the court. I mean, there's Rupp Arena.
Wow, I heard that, Lucy. Lucy, I heard
Rupp
that sound.
Arena.
Lucy,
Dean
what was
Dome.
that? Lucy, what was that sound?
Cameron Indoor
Gross.
Stadium. The Watsco.
Okay, you're disgusted by his blue bloodness. That you're being disgusted by Mike's misrepresentation of what the University of Miami.
You know how many
actually
men's
is.
games I went to last season?
All of them. You were
pretty
there.
much.
You were
pretty much
you
all
are-
of them.
You were there.
You know how many times I saw my team lose? Just once.
We went to the women's game together too when Notre Dame played at Miami last year, and he wore this exact same outfit.
He is Booster Man.
Well, I can't wear Nike on the campus.
He would
so
be
go
a
against the partnership.
He would be a superhero, Booster Man, and
I don't understand why you guys. I take such great joy. There's such a community aspect to this. I did not know.
That you, when there's ample people here that can support this program the same way, if not, better than you are, and doing nothing, little action.
I appreciate you, Billy. And look, you're being the change that you seek.
Thank you.
You're getting involved with your program.
That's right.
In very important ways.
Mm-hmm.
So, look, we all love our teams. Lucy has used plenty of Dan's money to go and cover Iowa athletics.
Correct.
I'm doing it again this week. Iowa women, Virginia Tech Thursday night. Really
I just did it as well.
Oh, Virginia Tech is very good. You know,
game.
I caught a little bit of Virginia Tech in Greece this year, and their staff has some show fans on it. So a little bit of a team of mine.
The Hokies.
They don't
Billy
like
said
Caitlin.
Hokies in my ear. I got to be honest with you. He thought Virginia Tech was the Hokies.
I was trying to get him to say it too. He didn't want to do it.
New Jersey Institute of Technology, by the way, the Highlanders couldn't get that one to you fast enough, Stu.
you were fed hoagies.
Yeah.
You said Hokies instead.
Yes.
And Boog's, Boog's criticism is valid, correct? Once you do a weekend, Stugotz, you're older than you used to be. You can't just be flying around all over the place, landing, belching out a show. and Boog says you're getting tired of being Stugotz. It's hard for you to summon the character. When he says hoagies and you turn it into Hokies,
right?
And we're 2 hours into your work week.
But that's the one thing. Like, listen, it doesn't matter how tired I am, how old I am. I'm going to get the Hokies right. It was not believable. That's why I didn't go with it.
The Hokies? It's a funny word.
I know.
Dan, you're a proud University of Miami alum, such as myself. Yeah. Why weren't you at Midnight Madness?
Yeah, are you going tonight? What's
Right.
going
What are you
on?
doing?
Yeah.
I am not going to those
Why?
things.
Why not?
I do admire.
You hate women's sports?
I do admire. Yes, Billy. That's what it is.
I have courtsides for the women.
It is.
You can courtside seats just by wearing that. I feel
Yeah.
like you could sit on their bench and
I'm
no one's gonna stop you.
Genuinely worried for courtside seats with my daughter. Gotta have the iPad out, but then she won't have her head on a swivel if they go
Right.
diving into the seats.
She's a fake fan.
College sports are fun, huh?
It's the best. It really is. And this is a weird town for it. And I went to Miami-Dade College. I went to FIU online. Like, I didn't have this college experience. I had already gotten the career that I was going to school for midway through it. So I'd never had this type of pride. Miami's a weird town for it. And the more I get involved with the program, the more I see the charm in it, the more I see the community aspects, the more I see positive role models for my daughter. I really enjoy it. And yes, it helps them out too. They're getting money for it, but I really, at this stage in my life, really value this relationship.
Mike, I'm not kidding you when I
with
tell
Adidas.
you. I'm not kidding you when I tell you that harkens back to sort of a 1950s Coral Gables on what it is that campus was trying to do through sports and college baseball 45 years ago. That quaint community thing of let's go on to a corner over there and have a milkshake. And watch a baseball game in a place that's different from the rest of Miami.
I had no idea this part of Miami existed, even while the team had success as being a blue blood.
It only
with Constantine Popa at the Knight Center.
It only exists over like a very small block radius where they've built an economy on a corner protecting something like that actually is better at sports right now, because it's the only thing that's been good at sports historically there has been football and baseball. But over the last 20 years, some of that has changed because of what basketball has done in these last few years. They're not
And what football has become. I mean,
well, but football
It's
carried
a big part of it. It's a fair criticism.
Football carried them here. Just the
Yes.
notoriety
Right.
of the program helped build the rest of the program. But basketball is now in a conversation where they get to play at the top 20 end of the business.
And I think basketball probably would have been here a while ago, even though I joked that we're a blue blood. The Adidas scandal of a couple of years ago, if you look at Jim Laranaga's time on the whole down here in Miami, unprecedented success for the program, and the Adidas scandal made the program take a step back, but now he's building it up. And if you see the recruiting class, Patea is an incredible recruit class of 2024. You're seeing on the women's side what the Cavender twins did by just relocating their brand to Miami, and you start seeing all the reasons why Miami, we joke, but they could really be a sustainable basketball powerhouse here. And that's an exciting thing that's never been down here before.
No, that actually could happen. I know we give Mike Ryan a lot of shit for how much he loves Miami, but I respect the hell out of it. It's the reason why I cry at college football games. It's because of the community aspect and just how important this is to everyone. I probably wouldn't cry at a Miami game, but still, it's really special.
That second half offense had me crying. Come to Tallahassee, we'll have a good weep. 14-point dogs.
Good weep. I'm genuinely torn on. I don't like how unpleasant this must be for Tyler Van Dyke. The world's closing in
Play
on
better.
that dude.
I mean,
yeah, play better. Yeah. Play better.